On January 30th, 2024, USS Gravely intercepted a Houthi anti-ship cruise missile over the Red Sea. A guided missile destroyer commissioned in 2010, the 57th Arleigh Burke hull was validated in live combat nearly 15 years into service. Months later, that same warship deployed to defend the American homeland. What makes one destroyer design so indispensable that the Navy stakes both overseas combat and national security on it? USS Gravely entered the fleet on November 20th, 2010, commissioned in Wilmington, North Carolina as the 57th Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. From its first day, Gravely stood as a product of decades of U.S. Navy surface warfare experience, a warship designed not just for a single mission, but to answer a broad set of threats across the world's oceans. The Navy's decision to keep building Arleigh Burke-class hulls well into the 21st century speaks to a core truth. No other surface combatant brings this combination of missile defense, strike reach, and anti-submarine power in one platform. Gravely's commissioning didn't just add another ship to the fleet, it reinforced a proven formula. The destroyer's number, DDG-107, places it deep within a lineage that has outlasted entire generations of other warship designs. In an era of rapid technological change, Gravely's arrival in 2010 marked a commitment to a hull and combat system that could be upgraded, adapted, and sent wherever U.S. interests demanded, whether in distant contested waters or years later, closer to home. Flight 2. Destroyers like Gravely represent a turning point in American warship design. The hull stretches just over 509 feet, but every inch is engineered for maximum combat density. Unlike earlier Burkes, the Flight 2A form integrates a fully enclosed hangar, large enough to house two MH-60 Seahawk helicopters. This feature alone transforms the ship's reach, allowing it to hunt submarines, extend its radar coverage, and launch rescue or strike missions without relying on a carrier nearby. The hangar and flight deck sit amidships, compact yet efficient, with direct access for rapid helicopter deployment in any sea state. Beneath the deck, 4 General Electric LLM-2500 gas turbines generate a combined 100,000 shaft horsepower. This power plant drives the ship to speeds over 30 knots, making Gravely fast enough to reposition across vast distances or keep pace with a carrier strike group. The hull's compactness is deceiving. Inside, every compartment is shaped by the need to combine missile defense, anti-submarine warfare, and surface strike capability in a single platform. The result is a ship that can shift from tracking aircraft to launching helicopters or evading torpedoes, all within the same operational window. This concentration of capability, packed into a hull that can be built in numbers, is the foundation for the Burke-class's enduring frontline value. A single glance at Gravely's deck reveals a layered arsenal packed into tight quarters. The Mark 45 5-inch gun sits forward, ready for surface targets or shore bombardment. It is an old workhorse, but still essential for rapid, sustained fire. Just behind it, the Mark 41 vertical launch system dominates the ship's silhouette. 96 launch cells, split between the bow and stern, can be loaded with a mix of standard missiles for air defense, Tomahawk cruise missiles for land attack, evolved sea, Sparrow missiles, and ASROC anti-submarine rockets. This modular battery gives Gravely the ability to pivot instantly between shooting down aircraft, intercepting missiles, or striking distant land targets. For threats that slip through the outer defenses, 2 Phalanx close-in weapon systems stand guard. One is mounted forward, the other aft. These radar-guided 20mm Gatling guns fire up to 4,500 rounds per minute, creating a final shield against incoming missiles or drones. Along the ship's flanks, Mark 32 triple-tube launchers are loaded with lightweight torpedoes, extending the destroyer's reach below the waves. Each of these systems can operate independently or in concert, giving Gravely a dense, overlapping web of firepower that covers every axis of attack. This is not just a collection of weapons, but a tightly integrated suite, each piece chosen to ensure no single threat can overwhelm the ship's defenses. Aegis is the heart of Gravely's combat power, turning a single hull into a mobile defensive shield. The system's Baseline 9 upgrade links every sensor and weapon, from the SPY-1DV radar to the vertical launch cells, into one real-time network. When a threat appears, Aegis collects radar tracks, classifies targets, and assigns the right missile or gun in seconds. This is not just automation. It is a battle manager that can track dozens of incoming missiles, aircraft, or drones at once, choosing and launching interceptors with minimal human delay. The result is a layered defensive umbrella. Long-range standard missiles reach out first, evolved. Sea Sparrow missiles cover the middle, and Phalanx CIWS stands ready for anything that slips through. Baseline 9 also allows Gravely to share targeting data with other ships and aircraft, expanding its protective bubble far beyond its own sensors. Commands count on this system because it fuses decades of combat lessons into a single adaptable shield, one that keeps Gravely relevant wherever it sails. On March 15, 2025, USS Gravely received orders for a new assignment, this time not to contested waters overseas, but directly under U.S. Northern Command. The destroyer left Naval Weapons Station Yorktown, bound for a deployment focused on the defense of American territory. U.S. Northern Command's official statement made the mission clear. Gravely would provide maritime security, reinforce missile warning networks, and participate in joint operations with the U.S. Coast Guard. The ship's role extended from Arctic surveillance to patrols near the southern border, demonstrating how a single hull could transition seamlessly from international crisis response to safeguarding the homeland. For U.S. Northern Command, bringing a Flight 2A destroyer into their area of responsibility meant adding a mobile shield, one equipped with Aegis, capable of tracking and intercepting missile threats aimed at U.S. shores. The deployment also highlighted the Navy's growing reliance on surface combatants for domestic defense, a mission once reserved for air and land-based assets. Gravely's presence in these waters was more than routine. It was a statement that the same warship defending convoys abroad could stand watch over American coasts, ready for any threat. On October 14, 2023, the USS Gravely joined the Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group as it sailed from Norfolk toward the Strait of Hormuz. The assignment placed the destroyer in the center of a high-threat corridor, where commercial shipping and military convoys faced a steady risk from missile and drone attacks. The Red Sea was already crowded with hostile actors, and the waters around Bab al-Mandab and the southern approaches to Suez had become a proving ground for modern naval warfare. Carrier Strike Group commanders relied on Gravely's Aegis system and layered missile battery to provide a defensive umbrella, not only for the carrier, but for the entire formation, including supply ships and allied vessels. Public statements from the strike group made clear that every transit through these choke points required constant vigilance. The environment was defined by asymmetric threats: anti-ship missiles launched from shore, weaponized drones flying just above the water, and the persistent uncertainty of what might appear on radar next. Gravely's deployment in these contested waters was not routine escort duty. It was a live demonstration of how a single destroyer's concentrated combat power could anchor the defense of a much larger force day after day under the pressure of real and unpredictable danger. On January 30th, 2024, USS Gravely faced a live fire test that stripped away all abstraction from the ship's mission. That morning, an anti-ship cruise missile launched by Houthi forces in Yemen closed to within a mile of the destroyer's hull in the Red Sea. Gravely's crew responded in seconds, bringing the Phalanx close-in weapon system online. The radar-guided Gatling gun tracked the missile's approach and unleashed a torrent of 20mm rounds, cutting the inbound threat from the sky before it could reach the ship or the nearby merchant traffic. U.S. Central Command confirmed the engagement in an official statement, noting there were no injuries, no damage to Gravely, and no disruption to commercial shipping. The incident did not rely on theoretical models or simulated exercises. It was a real missile, in a real combat zone, intercepted at close range by a warship built more than a decade earlier. CENTCOM's public acknowledgement of the shoot-down provided rare direct validation of the destroyer's layered defense architecture under actual fire. For the Navy, the event underscored why a proven platform like Gravely remains on the front lines. The ship's combat systems, crew training, and integrated sensors delivered exactly when it counted, preserving both the ship and the flow of global commerce. A single Arleigh Burke-class destroyer like Gravely carries a price tag between $2 billion and $2.25 billion, as shown in recent Navy procurement budgets. That figure covers the hull, propulsion, sensors, and the dense suite of weapons and electronics that define the ship's combat power. Yet the threats these destroyers face, drones, anti-ship cruise missiles, and unmanned boats, often cost a fraction of that amount. In the Red Sea, a Houthi-fired missile that threatened Gravely was likely built for sell under $500,000. Commercial drone swarms can be assembled for tens of thousands of dollars. This cost mismatch is not lost on defense analysts. Dr. Michael O'Hanlon, a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment, points out that deploying billion-dollar warships against cheap, proliferating threats creates a long-term dilemma for naval planners. Each engagement may be tactically necessary, but the economics are stark. A single destroyer must be ready to defend itself, and the fleet against attacks that are designed to drain resources and test the limits of high-end platforms. The Navy's answer so far has been to double down on proven, upgradable hulls like Gravely, accepting the price because the alternative is leaving critical sea lanes and U.S. shores exposed. But the question remains, how sustainable is this model as adversaries field more low-cost weapons faster than new ships can be built? Today, billion-dollar destroyers like Gravely intercept threats that cost a fraction of their price. Yet their unmatched versatility, Aegis defense, multi-mission reach, and combat-proven record anchor America's security abroad and at home. The calculus is clear. Proven power still defines naval relevance, even as the threats keep evolving.